All right, so welcome. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Transition Tuesdays. This is the third part in our webinar series developed by the St. Louis Youth Interagency Partnership. Again, my name is Amy Sickerman, and I am an Assistant Director of Transition at Vocational Rehabilitation. For those of you who have not joined us at all so far, we are a group of agencies that came together after WIOA law changes several years ago. We formed to connect the agencies that work with youth and build a stronger connection. We found that a lot of our agencies had resources and programs, but we didn't know how to access them. We didn't understand eligibility, how to refer clients, and we wanted to bring these agencies together to better serve our youth in the community. We've developed trainings each year to help our staff get to know about resources and agencies in the area, and these events are designed to gain information about agencies and contacts to help in developing that warm handoff in working with youth and clients. And these agency staff can then reach out to those resources for their students. If you have any questions about our organization, I'll put my email in the chat box and you can always email me if you have questions. But we're very excited to present Transition Tuesdays this year. Like I said, because of COVID, we usually do things in person, but this year we're doing our webinar series. If you've missed some of our other presentations, they are on our YouTube channel. You can just look up St. Louis Youth Interagency Partnership on YouTube, and you'll see those. We are recording this presentation, and we will put it on our YouTube channel as well, and you will be sent out CEUs after the presentation. If you did not register through EventSquid and you do need CEUs, please put your email address in the chat box, and we will make sure those come to you as well. So like I said, this webinar is divided into 5 sections to help our youth. Today we're going to talk about employment and education for our youth and families. The handouts have been loaded into EventSquid. If you need any of those, you can email me as well. Like I said, I'm going to put my email address in the chat box. So today we have Ambrosia Harris from STLCC Accelerated Training. She'll speak first. And then we have Missy McGaw from Vocational Rehabilitation, Leslie Kebney from U City AEL, and Blair Dammerman from Starkloff. So we will start with Ambrosia. Let me tell you a little bit about her. Ambrosia is the intake and recruitment specialist for the Boeing pre-employment training program with St. Louis Community College's Workforce Solution Groups, located on Flow Valley campus in the Center for Workforce Innovation building. She handles assessment scheduling and aids in recruitment for the program, which offers hands-on training for positions within Boeing, working with sheet metal assembly and composite materials. Within one of her previous positions, she was the Skill Up Project Support Specialist and helped provide tuition assistance for in-demand job field training to Missouri residents that were receiving food stamps and working closely with the Department of Social Services. She's a graduate of Ladue Horton Watkins and attended St. Louis Community College Merrimack in the field of architectural technology. She has worked for STLCC for over 4 years and has a background in drafting, construction, office admin, and a passion for social justice and care for the needy, no matter their background. Her husband works as an electrician, and they've been married for 6 years and have a cat, dog, and 2 children, ages 3 and 5, who keep them busy and active. So we are very excited to welcome Ambrosia. I know she has a couple of PowerPoints to share, and so I'm going to turn it over to you. Are you able to unmute yourself?
Okay, there we go.
There you go.
Nobody's hearing me. Okay, so marvelously, we have been having wonderful technical difficulties. So I am going to be giving the Boeing Pre-Employment Training Program presentation through a PDF in full screen, as opposed to a PowerPoint. Just it was a huge file that wouldn't even let me send it to Amy. So I'm sorry. Alrighty. And there we are. Everyone still see me? Yeah, okay.
Perfect, yes.
Okay, so the Boeing Pre-Employment Training Program is a program offered for individuals who are looking to enter the basically the tech field without necessarily having the explicit knowledge of knowing what they're doing, which is really great because you can be kind of fresh off the street. And if you have any knowledge of how to use your hands and how to understand measurements and readings, then they really help you hone in on those skills. So in particular, I am presenting the Boeing Pre-Employment Training Program through St. Louis Community College. The corporate college side has a Workforce Solutions, which is non-credit, and this program in particular is offered on our Flow Valley campus, formerly the Circuit City building that used to be red, we're now blue. And so the sheet metal assembly riveter and the composite technician programs are actually training courses that provide pretty much a direct path into Boeing's hiring needs. So for us, we work directly with Boeing. All of our instructors are actually former Boeing employees or current Boeing employees. So they know exactly what Boeing is looking for, which is a lot of team building and accuracy. So St. Louis Community College does work in collaboration with Boeing. The accelerated training program is for individuals that are looking for those potential jobs as assembly mechanics. And it does provide the skills, knowledge, and the hands-on ability to perform the tasks that the actual assembly mechanics are classified under. So assembly mechanic includes sheet metal as well as composite. So assembly mechanic classification is just one broad thing that covers both jobs that we cover classes for. So it is industry standard courses being offered that are for existing internal curriculum. So this is what they teach their own people inside as well. And it is completely free of charge. So it is a grant-based program where nobody sees the actual cost come out. And we do our best even on like the front side of trying to help people understand, the need for transportation and overcoming any barriers that they may face in terms of arriving to class on time and making sure that they're able to make their ends meet while in training. And I don't think this will let me. Nope. Okay, so that was a video. I'm going to see if I can get that video to work. So basically the requirements for entry into the program is just to submit a resume. Those resumes go directly to the Boeing training at STLCC website, web address. That actually comes pretty much directly to me. A few other people monitor it, but in terms of responses, it does say Boeing pre-employment staff, but usually it's me. So thereafter, they have to view or attend. Now, this had been updated primarily to the fact that we were dealing with COVID-19 protocols. So like even myself right now, I'm not at my cubicle because to speak without headset as well as a face mask, I have to be in a conference room. So view or attend, we are now able to thankfully switch back to attend. So those information sessions are offered. They're just 1 hour and they are right before you would take the work keys testing. The scores are predetermined by Boeing. So if any of your organizations offer the work key scores, we can take scores as old as 4 years, as long as it has their name and the date. So those are things that we like to not add an extra burden onto people just in case they've already taken it. The scores that they're looking for are not the highest. It is out of 7. So applied math is 4, graphic literacy is 4, and workplace documents is 5. So formally that was applied math, locating information, and reading for information. So to take and pass the layout assessment, it is a one and done currently. So the layout assessment is explained to you prior to you actually receiving the paperwork and the little piece of sheet metal to work on. However, if you do not pass that, it is like you're out. So we do our best to make sure that everyone is able to actually complete it. And currently we are trying to go back through. Boeing, it looks like, is hopefully going to be reevaluating if they want individuals who have formally not passed the layout assessment to be able to have a chance to attend a class and retake. So hopefully that will be an option if they decide to do that. So, all right. Here's the fun stuff. And I don't know who wrote this because check the cell phone should not be a requirement for the program, but a good attitude and work ethic. Boeing is extremely built on not just safety, but also working together. So the very first day of training isn't even in the classroom, it is a team building program. And that is like the mandatory. If you don't make it to the first day of team building, that begins the class, you can't attend any in-class shop work. So we are looking for people who are in the mindset of quality and safety, drug-free. We say no criminal background. That is a case-by-case basis for the hiring needs of Boeing. Um, we want them to be able and willing to show up on time. We know that with our location, we have to give people plenty of advance notice just due to the fact that there's so much changing construction between Elizabeth and Washington, New Florissant, as well as West Florissant off of 270. So we try to help people kind of adapt to the changes as they're being made. But attendance is mandatory, and basically just being able to willingly adapt to the production work that's being done and make the changes as necessary. To actually complete the program, you have to receive a 75% or higher in the both written and graded hand projects. I should have brought some examples, and I'm sorry for that, but that is a 75% or higher. Once you actually meet that, then you would receive that certificate of completion. We're also hoping to very soon go back to in-person graduation, but we shall see. So the two differentiations between the sheet metal assembly riveter and the composites program. The sheet metal assembly riveter is a longer program. It is 5 weeks, 208 hours of training, Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 3:30, whereas the composites is 128, 3.5 weeks, Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 3:30, depending on the needs of the students. So that one's a little bit more flexible. There are evening courses that are offered 5 to 10, and when those classes are offered, of course, the class lasts longer. So an evening class 5 to 10 would actually last 8 weeks as opposed to 5 weeks for the daytime, and may include a Saturday. So again, it's really great because they do offer these night classes. They have the flexibility to work with individuals who have maybe daytime jobs or children at home who need to be cared for, those types of things. So the classes, there are PowerPoint presentations by the instructors. There are written tests where that test score does have to be 75 or higher to stay in the course. And then the teacher presentations are hands-on how to do the project. There are hands-on practice projects where basically you go from seeing the teacher working on the item to working on it yourself. And then there are graded projects, which are actually the ones that need to be within that 75% or greater. Otherwise, you will be dismissed from the class. So it's not like the highest score. It's not like you have to stay in an A range to stay in the training, but a 75 can definitely, based on the type of work that you do, the type of attitude that you have, and the willingness to cooperate with others within the class, can definitely lead to the potential for a letter of recommendation, along with your opportunity to actually graduate and have that Boeing interview. So for composites, it is a little bit different. The intro and theory to composites, the use of composites, fiber orientation, layup, bagging, all of these things that I really don't understand because it's a very cool technology, but it's very different than attaching two pieces of sheet metal together. So this is more working with the high yield side of it that is not just metal. So more or less the metal loss, sorry, the commercial side. So we see the smooth planes that have part metal, and then you see something that isn't quite metal, but it's still shiny, but it looks strong. That those are the composite sides, whereas the sheet metal assembly riveter is covered by both. However, it is more typically seen on the military side. So with this one, it does have 8 hours of team building built into it. So when you attend the info session, normally when this presentation is given, it gives you an idea of how the two training courses are offered and how they differ. One being very loud and the other one being more like, I guess, fumes and safety. You have to wear like a cloak kind of. It kind of looks like a surgery gown, like you're about to enter and scrub in. Whereas the other guys, they put in earbuds and safety glasses and they're ready to work with the Revit gun. So the classrooms are completely different, but I've heard that both classes are highly enjoyable by the students who are interested. So these are some examples of the actual Reviting that is being done. It's working with small confines and different types of Revits. So both like the flush Revits as well as the ones that are actually going through and out. And then they're also teaching you how to use the actual tools that are going to be provided by Boeing at your station should you be hired on. So they teach you exactly what Boeing is looking for. And again, some terminology that normally is spoken about. I don't know what an FOD is, so I do apologize about that. But tool holding fixtures, contoured skin, flat panels, even the bucking bars, sitting as close as I do to the actual classrooms. Sometimes it sounds like screaming bunnies, or it sounds like a jackhammer just going off. So it is quite loud, but that's to be expected when you are actually drilling holes and assembling metal to metal pieces. So it is pretty interesting to see what they come up with as the course proceeds, because they go from just one tiny piece of metal to working with this bigger piece and structure throughout the 12 to 15 different projects that they work on. All right, and of course, we would not be here if it were not for the benefits. Not to say that the program isn't for nothing, but the program itself is completely free of charge to the student, and you would have an opportunity, should you complete with that 75 or higher, to be interviewed for the Boeing program. And that means actually putting in the application, putting in that you have the training for a program or for a position at Boeing. You would receive that certificate of completion, and then there is no guarantee that Boeing is going to hire you, but every time that we have a class going, that means that Boeing still has a hiring need. So we know that they still are hiring. It just may be something that is a case-by-case basis. So candidates hired, it's a union position, starting out at 19 an hour, January 50-cent raise, and June 50-cent raise. So dollar raise throughout the year. And there are contract raises, medical benefits, as well as college tuition. And we're not talking tuition reimbursement. We're saying as long as it is a program that you're interested in that can benefit Boeing, they will pay outright for it. So that also includes paid vacations, furthering career opportunities within Boeing, sick time, and holidays. So we have a few other items here. Right now, we are currently pushing. So if you know anyone who is a high school senior who will be graduating in May or June of 2022, we are offering this program to them as second semester high school seniors. They do have to be graduating not early in December of 2021, but along with the May, which this isn't old, this is incorrect. The completion date is actually just May of 2022 with a Monday through Friday 4 to 8 schedule. And then we also are pushing constantly for women to be comfortable with themselves working in aerospace manufacturing. So we've updated the image, but we do have different grants that offer both HVAC, environmental, as well as industrial maintenance tech. All right, and that's kind of the end of that one. So if anyone has any questions, while I pull up our next presentation on the remaining courses that are offered through St. Louis Community College Workforce Solutions Group, feel free to ask and I will do my best to answer.
Hey, Ambrosia, this is Kevin Rutledge. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I had a question. It's been a while since I attended the info session years ago. I just came up to kind of learn what the accelerated training programs consisted of. But I was trying to remember, are they paid? Are the students paid or given any kind of stipend during their training period?
Not during this training for the Boeing pre-employment training program. Through other programs, excuse me, they may have the opportunity to receive additional funding, especially due to the pandemic, where they would be listed as being in school. So currently, I think we had some HERF funding through the campus, where as long as you were attending classes, you could receive a certain amount of money up to like $1,000. And that's because you were attending a campus class. So it totally does depend. We do offer some medical training programs like the PCT and MA training where they are actually working directly with places like BJC and they're hiring them on, training them, investing in them, and then their hire date is the date that they start training. So they get paid for training and paid for those clinicals as well.
Great. And are you actively recruiting right now for the Boeing project?
Constantly, regularly. This year they just asked us to start a November class, which was kind of like, oh, okay, well, we started a September class. They're like, yeah, but we want 2 more this year. So with it going for the daytime anyway, going every 5 weeks, that's about a little under a month and a half, so they can be pretty concurrent. And it is completely based on how many people we have in our applicant pool to fill the class. Right now, there's kind of a debate on whether or not we have space to go back to full capacity because that does require so many like safety measurements that have to be done. But typically a class can be filled with up to 30 students, should it be like regular post or pre-pandemic era. So we're trying to get back into that. It is a little bit difficult to pen some of our students, depending on what they are looking for. Some are looking for the training that is paying. However, even if the person were not to complete successfully the Boeing pre-employment training program, we do send them to different locations that like Aerotech that are hiring people with a certain amount of knowledge building or doing production and manufacturing work. So we are able to kind of send them out into the right direction. Just once they do start our training program, you can't come back unless you have like a medical leave, which would be kind of case by case basis again. Yep. All right. And Amy, would you be able to pull up the preview day? Awesome. Because my computer is not cooperating. All right. Uh-oh, did I do that?
Can you see the full thing or what are you seeing right now?
I am viewing your application. I don't know if I am seeing the whole thing. Let's see. No.
Stop sharing and I'll do it again. Hold on.
Okay. Sorry about that. We've been having so many technical difficulties just today.
Are you able to see it?
Yes, I am.
Okay, just let me know when to move on.
Okay, so these are just a few examples, and this last picture isn't the best, but this is just an example of the phlebotomy students working with different types of measurements that they have to take. We also offer a CDL truck driving program, and that is for the A license. So the CDL A, they do offer B if necessary, but typically the only difference is the air brakes on that, as well as the manufacturing. So this individual is actually in our HVAC unit, which is really cool because they have so many different things that are just directly hands-on. You're walking in, not having to go through a book, but really being able to see what you're going to have to put your hands on the minute you start working. All right, so currently we offer a no-cost training for Missouri manufacturing technician. So that is 100 contact hours within 6 weeks. It covers soft skills, OSHA 10, as well as 2 different certifications for MSSC, as well as them being both the 2 different qualifications of safety and quality. So the hands-on tools, the mathematical measurements, and conversions and blueprint readings are all things that are learned and taught throughout this training. All right, precision machining technology prepares students for specific types of certification exams. So for this one, it is the National Institute of Metalworking Skills. It has 17 credit hours and it takes about a semester. It is offered at the Emerson building. However, that is on our actual campus. It's not in the Center for Workforce Innovation building. And there are scholarships available for this. And it teaches milling machines, lathes, grinders, and drill presses. And it also says that with students also learn the basics of the CNC machine setup and operation. And this is more of a stackable credential as opposed to going in to get a completion and straight into a job. You would more or less collect it along with a few other things and maybe apply for a higher paying job with that. All right, our HVAC operator training program is one of the most popular ones. So you'll notice in the corner, bottom right-hand corner, it does say STLCC/accelerated. That is where you can find all of the training programs that we offer through St. Louis Community College. Some of them are ones that you have to pay for out of pocket. Some of them are free of charge. This one happened to be one that until we had so many people during COVID, the early days of COVID, really applying and trying to get in, and then all of the spots, 16 seats filling up immediately. It was going through the continuing education side. So just like learning on your own, kind of because you want to, and now it's being run way more continuously. So the HVAC operator program is taught by actual individuals who have either retired from or still own their own HVAC companies. So they know what they're doing and what that involves. But it does provide that entry-level HVAC installation and troubleshooting that would be for residential primarily as opposed to commercial. So it is located at our office here, which is the Center for Workforce Innovation. We're just right off of Pershaw and West Florissant. 48 contact hours. They have day and evening classes. And this actually, wow, this is a little bit old. It used to be $650, all inclusive. That included the textbook. However, the Skill Up funding, which is also what I used to do, is no longer available, sadly. So depending on the type of individual and what kind of needs that they may have, there are certain scholarships that you can also apply for to cover the cost if it's an at-cost program. So there are times when it is scholarship-based, and there are times when it is an out-of-pocket cost. And that one does prepare you for the EPA certification. Biggest thing that we have problems with is once students are successful through the training, they have the opportunity to take the EPA exam, and then we just poof, don't hear from them. So we try to follow through, we try to follow up with them. And so if ever you have a student that went through one of our programs and that they were able to complete or receive their certification, we would love to be able to track that kind of data. So feel free to send us that. We love that stuff. Charts and graphs, yay. All right, so this one, of course, is the one that I've spent most of my time with you discussing. So this one can be found at STLCC stlcc.edu/Boeing, and that will take you directly to the pre-employment training program. And of course, everything that I've said before is within the same category. This is just to provide everyone with the opportunity to see how it compares and kind of contrasts with other programs that are offered through Workforce Solutions Group. So this one is coming soon. We are still in the process of building the welding lab, which is really, really amazing. So this one will help individuals demonstrate safe workplace practices and identify potential hazards. And some of those things even include working with ADA needs. So if a student or a client were to say, hey, we have somebody who would be interested in this, but needs to make special accommodations in case of their own case-by-case issues or things that need to be accommodated to that don't make it difficult for them to work, it's just something that they can work with, then we also help with those types of situations as well. So this is to work on the fabricating and assembling of the certain projects to the specific specifications and specified tolerances using trade-related equipment. It's also, where am I? Okay, so you would read and work with a variety of shop drawings. So again, being able to read for information and locate information. And so many of our classes do actually require that you take the work keys testing, and that lets us know where students are before they even enter the training course itself. And so this one is specifically for fabrication and assembly of different items using gas metal arc welding, which is like really intimidating to me because it does work with mild steel, stainless steel, and aluminum. All right. All right. So the CDLA truck driving program has been extremely successful within the St. Louis region. Due to it being held at the Forest Park campus during the 2021 and 2020 year, there were differing issues going about whether or not they could continue to have close 4-to-1 ratio training with students because Forest Park is located in the city. So when the city had a tighter and more restricted lockdown, the county did not. And so they were able to move all of the trucks up to Florissant Valley and continue offering this 4-to-1 training. So that means a total of 8 students maximum per class with a minimum of 2 teachers. Usually there are 2 full-time and 1 part-time that handle either the reading coursework or the hands-on, and each truck can hold a maximum of 5 people. So of course with face masks and everything else that were going on, they could only have a max of 4, and that made it a little bit more difficult for students because one instructor would have to be in the cab as well. So that would mean 1 instructor, 3 students, and it was just a little bit uneven, but they were able to make it work. I've seen people come through who went, especially through the Skill Up training program, that went from being just individuals who had just gotten out of prison or were just as involved within those 7 years and were able to get those pre-employment letters or pre-hire letters and enter the training, have us pay for it, including the DOT physical and drug screening. This is a program that, depending on who is hiring, they sometimes completely cover it and hire you on to take the training. So we've had things like that go on with both Schneider, Werner, and another company that we like to refer people to is PTL, which is Pashal Truck Lines. So this does have a small ratio of students to teacher, which makes the quality a lot higher. You do have to be 21 years or older, have a good driving record, which is something that you have to present to the program coordinator before you can be enrolled, valid driver's license, and then, of course, receive your temporary, which lasts for 6 months, temporary CDLA license or permit. And once you complete, they take you out with a truck to get your license. And so what's really great is that you're not having to rent a truck and go out to South County to do the testing. So they really do work specifically with students who are looking to do the behind the wheel driving, which we know, I mean, America is so far behind. I think of countries like England who are missing out on so many truck drivers, and yet America is like so many times bigger. And so we know that there are many issues that are, the chain necessary to meet the demand are finally somewhat being linked, but we hope that this training can continue to help individuals meet their goals. And with the healthcare workforce training, we just got completed the LEED certified building, the nursing tech building on the Forest Park campus. So that building is completely done, and we just completed moving all of our healthcare training from either the corporate college or from Forest Park in different areas because they had us all scooted around into different pockets. But we officially have like our own floor in this new building, which is amazing. And so the four main programs that are within the healthcare workforce side are the central sterile processing, patient care tech, medical assistant, and community health worker. So central sterile processing works very closely with courses like dental assistant, patient care technician, work alongside nurses. So they are more, of course, they don't actually provide the drugs, but they can take the vitals and things like that, working in a hospital setting, maybe even trying to work up to the point of becoming a medical assistant who can, depending on their actual location, provide those the medications to those clients. But it's a really great program because they take individuals who have just the strive to really be in healthcare, which we've seen compassion fatigue and burnout be so high, but this program is really in high demand as well. So we're hoping that everyone who gets through it is able to help in whatever capacity necessary to keep our health system going. And then with community health worker, they are members of really any community, their own is preferable, that serve to assist individuals find the different types of behaviors that can help them live the best life that really they can live based on their needs, their wants, and then providing them with any type of health assistance and resources provided through the community, the state, or the region. All right, and this one is a newer program, and we are so thankful to have it. The Longbow Academic Readiness Accelerator is a one-on-one training that really hones in on the needs of a student who is looking to attain a certificate or a certain type of training showing that they are able to get the work key scores that they need, or the ACT or the AccuPlacer. So this is based on the student's need, but it is not necessarily something that we would provide to any and everyone. Of course, there are certain students who know and are willing to let us know that they have needs that need to be met, maybe through our access office. So we also work closely with the access office as well on campus to help meet the needs of the student. If they need extended time or headphones, things like that. This is a little bit different because it is to their individual progress, and then they send them back to testing with us. So this is just to help build their confidence in the reading, math, and understanding so that they can get those higher scores and continue on without having to waste or spend any of their own Pell Grant funds or out-of-pocket money. All right. And my name is not Becky Epps. Becky sent me this. So again, the website is STLCC/accelerated. That takes you directly to all of the training courses that are offered by Workforce Solutions Group and either co-sponsored by a campus or continuing education. And those are items that really all of us have likely seen. I know now they've cut back on a lot of the printing just because it was really unnecessary. So many of the catalogs have been going out via email, or you can sign up and subscribe to a monthly Workforce Solutions Training Accelerated Training spreadsheet that gives you the cost, the location, contact information, as well as a general summary of each training program that's being offered. Oh, and
we do have a question. Are you currently offering a phlebotomy course?
I do believe they recently stopped that course because it was continuing education. With continuing ed, it's been a little bit harder to keep it to the, I guess, the degree of like work. So it was continuing education, and not all of the proper background requirements were being met before students entered the training. So some of them are actually entering the training, but were not able to complete their practicums. And so we realized that they had to kind of take a step back and do some of the beforehand items to make sure that, like, family care safety registry, things like that, were going to be able to be cleared before they actually tried to get into the clinicals, because with some places they weren't even accepting good cause waivers. So if a person has something and they've received a good cause waiver, some places accept them, some places don't, and then that completely eradicates the potential for them to complete the training, even though they've potentially paid out of pocket for it. So not at this point in time. I do know that both phlebotomy that phlebotomy is taught in both the PCT and the MA training courses.
Fantastic.
All right, any other questions for me?
I don't see anything coming in at the moment, but thank you so much, Ambrosia, for joining us.
Absolutely.
If you guys do have any questions for her, we can definitely get you a hold of her, or like she said, just go to the Accelerated Training Program website on STLCC.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you so much, Ambrosia.
My pleasure.
And we are now switching over to Missy McGaugh from Voc Rehab. Missy McGaugh has been working with the Individual Placement and Supports, or IPS, program since 2019 in varying ways. Missy started out in a Kansas City area community health agency as an employment specialist and then became the manager of that program. Missy was the IPS state trainer prior to joining Voc Rehab as the assistant director of mental health training, and in April of 2021 became the director of mental health services for Voc Rehab. Missy has the basic philosophy that work is a part of the road to recovery, and IPS has proven time and again that people with serious and persistent mental illness and or substance abuse disorder can in fact work and recover. Missy and family live in Kansas City, and Missy is a huge softball fan and an amateur photographer. Missy, like I said, works with our IPS program, which can work with our youth as well. We're trying to push that a little bit more, so we are going to have her talk a little bit about that specialized Voc rehab program. Take it away, Missy.
All right. Thanks, Amy. So I just realized that when I sent you my bio there, that's a little bit of a typo. Y'all are probably thinking, wow, she's only been doing this for 2 years. That's just not a whole lot. But I've actually been doing it since 2009. So it started in Missouri early 2009. IPS did, and I came onto the scene in September of 2009. So I've been doing that for a little while now. For those of you that don't know, IPS individual placement and support, is an evidence-based practice. It was created at the time by a group of researchers at Dartmouth College. They then left Dartmouth and went to WestStat, which was another research kind of a group, and they have now grown and to the point that they are their own place, and they call themselves the IPS Employment Center, and they are located in New Hampshire. When they created IPS, they created it for folks with serious and persistent mental illness. And when Missouri started doing IPS, we had just 6 sites. And I was working at one of those sites that was helping them implement. We were, submitting outcomes and data, all in an effort to help their research to, get it to that evidence-based part of it. It comes with a 25-point fidelity scale. So for our agencies that choose to do IPS as a service, they have an annual fidelity review to make sure that they are adhering to the evidence-based practices. IPS is based on 8 principles, and really the 8 principles guide everything we do in IPS. My favorite one, the most important one in my opinion, is zero exclusion. So if somebody says they want to work, we are going to help them get a job. Then once they have a job, we're going to provide them with time unlimited support. And so what that means is we're going to provide those follow-along supports for as long as they need. We're going to do what we call rapid job search. So when somebody says, I am interested in employment, and we make that referral and we get them into services, that provider has a goal of having them face-to-face in front of an employer within 30 days. So that's it happens pretty quick, so we call that rapid job search. They're looking for competitive employment, right? Out in the community, working side by side with anybody and everybody. That being said, if they need any accommodations, that employment specialist that is working with them will help ensure that those accommodations are met. Benefits planning. Some of our folks have Social Security, SSI, SSDI, Medicaid, Medicare, housing subsidies, all of those things. So having that employment or that benefits planning is a really important aspect. At one time, there was just like this crazy number that was like 75% of people with a mental illness said they wanted to work, but like only 14% of them actually were. And when they asked those 14% why aren't you wanting to work, it was because they were afraid of losing those benefits. And so we want to help educate those folks that not only, can you work and keep your benefits, you may even get to a point someplace where you are so comfortable and so good at what you're doing and you're offered benefits and better pay that you may opt to leave those benefits. So we want that to be around not only as they're leading up to thinking about doing a job search, getting a job, but then even after that, in the event that they're offered those promotions, those pay raises, that kind of thing. One of the really cool things about IPS is that it is an integrated team approach. And so by that, what we mean is those employment specialists that are working with the folks are integrated into the treatment team that also serves those folks. And so sitting around the table, you might have an employment specialist, a case manager, a psychiatrist, a therapist, a doctor. All of these people are become part of this team. And so it's an integrated team. We talk a lot about client preference. If Joe comes in tomorrow and says, I want a job and I want to be a welder, I'll use Ambrosia here. I want to be a welder. That employment specialist is not going to take Joe to McDonald's to fill out an application, right? We're going to look into what does Joe need to become a welder? Does he need the education? Does he have what he needs? And if we can't get him to that welding point, what can we get in the realm of that, idea that might suffice his desire to work in that field, right? And then we also have the 8th one is called systematic job development. And that is based on Joe saying, I want to work in welding. That employment specialist is supposed to make, according to Fidelity, 6 face-to-face employer contacts per week, right? And we want that to be systematic. We want those contacts to be based upon the job choice of the people they're working with, right? So that's not to say that you won't just go out and randomly job develop with somebody you see a now hiring sign at, but at the root of it, we really want them to job develop around the needs and the wants of the folks that they're working with. So those are the 8 principles. And like I said, they guide everything, and that 25-point fidelity scale is based on those principles. Like I said, when IPS started, it was all about people with persistent and mental illness. Over the years, as IPS has grown, it is now in 26 states in the United States, and it is in, 8 other countries. So it is now an international phenomenon that's taking place. It's really cool. Over the years, as we've grown and we've learned more about IPS and we kind of became experts at it, if you will, some of us states have decided, you know what, it works so well with mental illness, why not try it with substance use disorder, which is exactly what we did in Missouri. And we have 8 sites in the state of Missouri that are C-STAR programs that are working with folks that have a substance use disorder and a mental health disorder. And so some of you may know the phrase co-occurring disorders. And so we have 8 sites across the state that do that service for those folks with co-occurring disorders. Earlier, I told you we started out with 6 IPS sites. As of today, we are at 32. So we have quadrupled that number over the years. The cool thing about your area is 8 of those sites are located in the St. Louis area. 3 of those are devoted to that dual diagnosis, co-occurring mental health and substance use, but 5 of them are in mental health agencies. So you've got 8 right there in your area. You've got BJC. You've got Preferred Family Health, which is one of our C-STAR sites, and they have 3 locations in the St. Louis area. You have Places for People, Independence Center. There's Compass in Wentzville, which I know is just slightly outside of St. Louis, but I'm still counting them. And I'm also going to count Comtree in Arnold because they are also in that St. Louis area, served out of one of our St. Louis South VR office. So you've got 8 options there in your area for IPS. At this point in time, for IPS, we are, from a VR perspective, we're really working with those kiddos, because I know, we're talking transition here, right? We're really only able right now to work with those kiddos in the 2nd semester of their senior year. And that's because of the policies that VR has, and we're not going to dwell on that. So some of our kiddos, when they're 18, start receiving IPS services. The hope and dream is that in the very near future, we are able to provide IPS services to those that are younger. We have a wonderful partnership with DMH that we have had throughout the years, and it's only gotten better and stronger over the course of time. So we have this partnership with DMH, and we are looking at how can we bring those young ones, the 14s, the 16s, how can we bring them on sooner and provide IPS? The folks at the IPS Employment Center have come up with a fidelity scale based on IPS for youth, and part of that is a supported education piece. And so myself and my partner Chad Hinkle over at DMH are looking at how can we implement that here in Missouri? What would we have to do to make that work? I can't give you the full details as of this moment because they're still unknown, but we're looking at a model in which, let's say somebody wants to go to school possibly DMH funding the educational piece for the younger ones. And then when they come out of that educational piece with their certificate, diploma, degree, whatever that may be, then bringing them over to the VR side for the job search assistance. That's kind of what we're looking at, what we're hoping for, best case scenario. So keep your eyes and ears open. Hopefully we'll have that to offer here in the very near future. But just know that if you've got someone that, you know, hits that 18 second semester high school and are close to any of those sites that want to look into IPS, you know, feel free to reach out to them. They'd be happy to help you. Any questions? I went through that pretty quick, I know.
I am checking. Nothing's coming through on the chat yet.
Okay.
I don't see anything yet, Missy, if you want to hang around just in case anybody does have a question, but we appreciate your time and information about IPS.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks for having me.
All right, thank you. And our next guest is Leslie. Leslie's one of our Youth Interagency Partner team members. She is the transition specialist for University City Adult Education, and through this role, she works to connect both adult learners and high school students with careers and training in in-demand fields. UCAEL is proud to provide WorkKeys assistance to prepare students for their career training goals. So I am going to turn it over to Leslie.
Hi, everybody. Now it's time for me to hope that my technology works. So let's give this a shot. Let me see. Okay, can we see my screen?
Perfect.
Okay. So I'm going to go and talk about adult education and the AEL programs. I can specifically talk to University City Adult Ed, but of course I can generally talk more about the other programs in the area. And I did see that I had some adult ed colleagues on the line today. So if somebody, you know, another one of the colleagues needs to pop in and add a little bit, I'm open to that too. I'm a former elementary school teacher, so I'm used to people speaking out. So that doesn't bother me at all if you have something to add. So here is my contact information. The best way to get a hold of us, if you do have any questions about adult ed, whether our program or in general, that cell phone number at the bottom, the 314-391-9232, that is our program cell phone. It goes to me. You feel free to share that with your students, your clients. That is a public phone number to be used. And I can text and call on that. So I know a lot of young people are much more comfortable texting. So feel free to share that number far and wide for anybody who is in need of AEL services. So just to get started, these are the program locations in the area for adult ed. There's Parkway, and these are not just limited to the actual school district names. And the other important thing to note is for any of these, there is no residence requirement. So you don't necessarily have to live in Parkway to access the Parkway services. They are just by geographical area. And that Parkway program does include a number of school districts: Parkway, Rockwood, Pattonville, Clayton, Maplewood, Richmond Heights, Ladue, Brentwood, and Hazelwood. Rittner School District has a program, as does St. Louis Community College and St. Charles Community College. And the St. Louis Community College, just like Parkway, is an encompassing group. So is St. Louis Community College, covering Afton, Bayless, Kirkwood, Lindbergh, Melville, Oakville, Valley Park, and Webster Groves. St. Louis Public Schools has a program, and University City Schools. So wherever you are in the area, wherever your clients are in the area, there is an AEL program to serve them, and there is no residency requirement. So, you know, based on class schedules or timing, it might be better to hop to a different AEL program, and that's certainly okay. The other thing that's important to know about AEL programs in the area is that they are free of charge. There is no cost for classes or services. If you are wondering about eligibility for an AEL program, there's three groups that we really serve. Obviously, we are an adult, we serve adult populations. So adults are considered 17 years of age or older and not presently enrolled in secondary school. we can drop that number down to 16 years if they're not presently enrolled in secondary school, but they have completed 16 hours of credit towards high school graduation. So there's a little bit of some leeway there for a 16-year-old. And that would just need to be verified through transcripts and credits and those types of things. But 17 years of age and older, no prerequisite for the program. Additionally, we have our programs for speakers of English as a second language. But the one I really want to focus in on today are that adults can be a part of an AEL program even if they already have a high school diploma, their HiSET, or advanced degrees. I have students who I work with that have a bachelor's degree. Some even have a master's degree. And they're coming for services with job training and placements and those kinds of things. So I always like to tell people AEL is not just for the GED. We do have lots of services that can help those adults who are looking for a career change or a career start. We can help with access to job training, skill remediation for different assessments. Even if somebody, has been out of high school for a long time and they're not happy with their reading, they can come in for reading tutoring and those sorts of things too. So we really are an encompassing service for those adults looking to further their education. Please feel free to share that kind of information with any of your clients or parents of clients that you have. If you're in that K through 12 building, or if you're working with youth clients, and that I like to have this information out to share on bulletin boards or virtual bulletin boards, just to let those know, those who you might be serving, their parents might be able to take advantage of those AEL services too. So please feel free to share that information out. Some of the intake procedures I want to go over so that as you bring students into an AEL program, you can prepare them for what to expect. There's usually about 3 steps involved in the intake and orientation process. It's going to be a little bit different based on the program, but there's basic things that we all do. The beginning is the contact or pre-registration point. By calling or visiting the website of a chosen program, you can get that information, and they'll gather information about the individual. Here in U City, I have a link that I send out to anybody who contacts me, and it's our pre-registration form. So that's a great way to get onto our mailing list and onto our contact list and get started with our program. After you have made that initial point of contact, you'll go on to the intake and orientation process. Different AEL programs are set up differently. Some have ongoing intake and orientation whenever you come in. Some have scheduled intake orientation, maybe once a month or every 6 weeks when new students can come into the program. But we do, on the whole, take students throughout the year. It is not just, an August or September timeframe. It is the whole year. In that intake and orientation process, this is a really important thing to prepare your contacts, your clients for when they come to an AEL program. It will be a little bit more than just filling out a form and starting a class. And I think it's important to set this expectation so students know what is coming. They will be required to do some intake testing for our HSE, our HiSET classes. They take a test called the TABE, which is the Test of Adult Basic Education. And our ESL learners will take a similar test called the Class E to assess their English language skills. The important thing to let people know is that they need to expect about a 3 to 5 hour time frame to complete these tests. Probably not all in one day. Most programs break it up. But it is important to know that, and it does help with the follow through of the student. I can imagine it's really overwhelming if you think you're just going to fill out a registration form and start a class, and then you're faced with all of these tests. So I do like to prepare the students and explain to them the purpose of the test and that it will take some time. It just kind of helps with that follow through and really getting a successful start into the program. The testing that is given to a new adult ed student is not something that they can pass or fail. It is not something that they can study for. So I always try to set those worries at ease. The purpose of that TABE test is for the program to get the best idea of the students' existing skills and where they need to improve as they prepare for their HiSET exam or for English proficiency. And then the teacher will use those test scores to create the individual learning plan for a student. So the tests are very important. But I hope that they don't induce any more anxiety. I know many of our students have test anxiety, but this really is just one of those do your best tests, and then we can build on it from there. After those tests are done, other programs may have other parts of that orientation process. They might complete the work keys placement test. They might complete career inventories or an entry interview, but those are kind of program based. Once that intake and orientation is completed, they'll be enrolled in a class for a HSE or high school equivalency. ESL is English as a second language, or transition assistance to help with that career advancement and placement. The biggest question I get as I finish up intake and orientation with students is how long is this going to take? How long until I get my GED, or how long until I get my high set? And that's another good thing to prepare your individuals for. It really is based on the student. Where your starting point is and what your end goal is makes a big difference. And then additionally, how much time can you spend a week to devote to your studies or to your class time? You know, if you are, and we all work with adults, we're very understanding of work and children and family commitments. Excuse me. And so, you know, it's really individualized based on kind of what the student's personal situation is for how long it's going to take to achieve their goals. And that's something that, you know, you can work through with your client and the classroom teacher and program coordinators. They can all kind of work to help people understand that for their individual situations. Okay, so that's kind of the intake and how we're going to get into the program. I feel like most of the time when people think of AEL, they're pretty familiar with that HiSET program. HiSET is the high school equivalency test that students take. Some places it's the GED. Here in Missouri, it's the HiSET, but students will use the term GED and HiSET interchangeably. And we're pretty familiar with our English as a second language program. But what I want to focus on is these transition and career services that are growing parts of AEL programs, and really kind of how we fit into that WIOA plan through the federal government and meeting those employment goals. This is what I can speak to most. My job in University City is as the transition specialist. So my role is to fill this need of transition and career services, working with students to get them onto the next step and moving in the direction they want to go. So in these transition and career services, there will be things like career exploration, you know, taking career interest inventories and having conferences with a teacher or with somebody like me in the district to figure out where they really want to go with their next steps and what that career pathway might be. Additionally, we do skills remediation for assessments. In U City, we focus a lot on the work keys. I know I've mentioned that today. Ambrosia mentioned the work keys today. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that later in the presentation. So if you've never heard of the work keys, I'm going to get you a little bit of information in you today. We also help with resume writing, job application assistance. We can sit down and I will walk students through job applications and figuring out how to do that on the computer and those sorts of things. That's part of the transition services. There are IETs, or integrated education and training, and different programs, different AEL programs have different IETs. And what these are ways to combine the program of studies such as HiSET. So while a student is working on the HiSET, they are taking a class that goes along with that, where they're also working with certified instructors to gain a certification. For example, Kansas City has a training where they're working on HiSET courses and a forklift certification, and those two courses come together and they end up with both by the time they're done. These also work with patient care tech, have programs like this. I'll mention Kansas City again. They even have a program for industrial sewing. So students, you know, for example, maybe in the ESL population, they're taking their ESL class along with that industrial sewing training. And in that ESL class, they're learning the vocabulary and the skills they need to be successful in the training on this. And so they're building their English and they're getting a certification. It's that integrating of their education and training. St. Charles Community College is a leader in these programs as well. And then we also connect a lot of students with job training programs. The many that Ambrosia went through today through St. Louis Community College Accelerated Trainings, Workforce Solutions Accelerated Training Programs. And then there's other programs like Empower for technology, the BUD program for the building trades. So if students are in search of job training programs and aren't sure where to start, that local AEL program can be a really good connector and help with preparation into those job training programs. I promised I would talk a little bit about the work keys for those of you who are not familiar. This is a growing initiative here in St. Louis. St. Louis is considered a work-ready community based on this work keys assessment. The work keys is published by ACT, the same people that do that high school test, except it's instead of just an academic skills assessment, it's an online job skills assessment. How are these real world skills applying to real occupations? It's not occupation specific, it is general. So different occupations all use the same work keys assessment. And it's used in the St. Louis area by over 400 employers. And they might use the work keys as part of the hiring process, or even once they are part of that workforce team to find the right fit within the company or advancement within the company. Different employers use the work keys in different ways. It's also used by training programs. Ambrosia mentioned earlier those scores that are required for the Boeing pre-employment training. So this is how you get that work keys assessment and those scores. When an individual comes and they need assistance, AEL programs can provide remediation to help them get the score that they desire for a job training program or a job. For example, I have a number of students who come to me who are interested in the BUD program, the Building Union Diversity. BUD requires a 5 on 2 of the tests called Applied Math and Workplace Documents. And we'll have students who go to the job center, they take the test, they didn't get the scores they want. And then the job center can refer them to adult ed programs to study and do a remediation program, and then retake that test to get the scores that they want. So that's one use of the scores for those training programs and employment. Additionally, and that's kind of what you're looking at on your screen right now, the completion of the work keys assessment can lead to a National Career Readiness certification. And so that first column, that level 3, it's a bronze certificate. And what that says to an employer is this person has the skills to successfully complete 16% of jobs. And they give you kind of a list of where that falls. And then a level 4 is a silver certificate. And that's a lot more. 67% of jobs you can be successful. Level 5 or gold is 93% of jobs, like a pharmacy tech, school counselor. It's a pretty big range. And then 99% of jobs are that platinum level. And most of the training programs that I refer students to are requiring that level 4, level 5 test, which is just in line kind of with what Ambrosia mentioned. They were looking for level 4s and 5s for that Boeing program. So if you have a student who needs this work keys assessment, or a client who needs the work keys assessment to access job training, they can start with their local AEL program. They can call me in University City. I can help them take a practice test, which is called a placement quiz. And that gives us an idea of how they'll perform on the official test and an idea on, well, okay, they can go ahead and go and take that official test, or maybe they should spend some time in an AEL classroom working on those skills and building them up before they go take the official test. AEL programs can provide the remediation, and when they're ready to take that official test, they can do that at the job center or sometimes on site with the training programs that they are looking into. The 3 areas that are covered on the work keys are applied math, and that is just what it sounds like. It's how is math applied to the workforce? And the questions can range from, very short mathematical problems, adding up different measurements, to longer text-based, find a way to apply the math. Workplace documents is a reading test, basically, if it all boils down to it. And workplace documents is how can you pull or synthesize information found in a workplace document, such as an email or an instruction manual or a memo or those kinds of things. So it's not, reading Shakespeare and poetry or long essays, but how do you pull information from important work documents? And then graphic literacy is accessing information in the form of graphics. So, it might be different dials that show different pressures, and you have to get information from that. So those are the 3 parts that students would be assessed on for the work keys. And when each test is just about an hour long. So when they do sit for that assessment, it's about a 3-hour assessment from start to finish. And I did put the link at the bottom. I'm not going to take you through some sample questions today, but if you take a look at the PowerPoint, you do have the link to some sample work keys questions if you want to see what those are, or just shoot me an email and I'll get you some of those too. We also talk a lot in adult ed about career pathways for students, and that really ties in nicely with some of the earlier presentations today. The pathways that we are really focusing on are those that are growing in St. Louis and those that are high demand. So while students are certainly not limited to any pathway, we do, work closely trying to help students access pathways where they'll be successful. So that healthcare, technology, and building trades are really where we see a lot of success with students. And we also are able to find stackable credentials in those pathways. So maybe a student comes to us and wants to become a nurse. We start them on that pathway with possibly as a patient care technician or a medical assistant, and then get them working and getting them experience and getting them training, and then start to build towards that nursing degree over time as they get more experience, tuition assistance from employers, those kinds of things. So when students are interested in they're not sure, they know they're interested, these are some areas where we might start with them to get them started as part of those transition services to help them get to the next step. And these are things that AEL programs are doing with their high set classes and their ESL classes, and working students towards these kind of pathways so that they are ready when they are. Okay, the last little bit that I want to cover today is how the adult ed programs work with the job centers, because we do work in partnership. We keep saying WIOA, and we do work in partnership with the job centers with WIOA, and that federal mandate for workforce initiatives. One way that AEL and the job centers really do partner an awful lot is in the out-of-school youth program. Also I can speak very specifically to University City in this part. So the out-of-school youth program in the job centers serves youth aged 16 to 24 who are out of school for whatever reason. And through that out-of-school youth program, they're able to provide lots of services, including funding for job training. They provide job readiness training. They help with other services. And then the AEL program really does like to work with the job center with these out-of-school youth individuals to help get them onto those career pathways and get their needs met and onto careers. The primary way, and I can speak, this is specifically to University City, is we have a partnership with the out-of-school youth program for something called the Transition to Work Academy. And this summer will be our 4th year to provide the Transition Academy. The last 2 years were virtual. We hope to be back in person this summer. And we partner with the out-of-school youth program to work with between 15 and 25 youth, typically newly graduated seniors. That's kind of our target audience. We try to get them in June, right after they've graduated from high school. They're not sure what they're going to do next. And between the AEL program and the out-of-school youth program, we're able to provide a lot of services and get them a strong footing after high school and moving on to something in their career. And we have 3 parts that we really focus on with that Transition to Work Academy. We, through the AEL program, provide remediation and testing for the work keys. so that way when they're finished with us, they're ready, they have that for any kind of training program that might require it. We also use the job centers and their WIOA funding to provide a summer work experience for the youth. So they have up to 240 hours of employment over the summer. So that's great for students who might not have a job or who've never had a job, and they can start to build those professional skills, and they have something they can put on a resume, and they get some money in their pocket over the summer. And then the last part is our goal at the end. After they've had some work experience, they've had some classroom and remediation training with us, and they do a job readiness training also to work on those essential or soft skills. When that's all completed, usually during the month of June, we're done by the 4th of July, and they might be working through July. By that August, September timeframe, they're ready to be enrolling into a job training program or employment and ready to just step out on the right foot after they've completed high school. So that is a program that is open to all students, not just residents of University City. And after the first of the year, kind of in that January to March timeframe, we really do start our outreach a lot for that. So I will share out with our group to help make sure people are aware that that's coming, and the application process for that Transition to Work Academy between our AEL program and the job centers. Then I think, yes, that is it. Do I have any questions today? Oh, I must have gotten it all done.
I don't see anything coming in. I know we're running long, but if you do have any questions, you guys can ask them, or feel free to email or call Leslie directly.
Okay.
And I do know we have just a couple minutes left, and I invited Blair Damerman from Starkloff to talk about her program. She's in charge of the Dream Big Access U programs, to plug those a little bit for our students who are kind of in their last couple of years in school and thinking about what to do. So I'm going to let Blair talk. She is the Youth Programs Manager for Starkloff Disability Institute. So take it away, Blair.
Thanks, Amy. Yeah, I'll make this quick. So as Amy said, I am the Youth Programs Manager at Starkloff Disability Institute, where I oversee Dream Big and Access U. Dream Big is our high school career exploration program that works with transition-aged youth, age 14 to 21, who intend to or are thinking about pursuing some sort of post-secondary education, whether that looks like a 2-year or 4-year college or university, trade or technical school, any of these certification programs, really anything, any sort of post-secondary education that the students can pursue. The purpose of Dream Big is to introduce the students to these high demand careers, specifically in the St. Louis region, but also, careers that would translate to other regions in Missouri. We have kind of 2 different program facets that we're doing. We're currently recruiting and running academic year events that we call the Dream Big Career Club. These events focus on different career clusters or industries, and we run one a month for the academic year. So we have 3 in the fall and 3 in the spring. We also have, as part of the career club, we also have students join us once a month for peer events, where they come together and do some sort of educational piece, and then they get to fellowship and play games with their peers, just to kind of build some social skills and some camaraderie between our Dream Big students. The kind of the flagship of Dream Big is our Dream Big Career Exploration Summer Camp that we run every summer. The past 2 years have been virtual, but we're hoping to be back in person also this coming summer. And that focuses on introducing students to different companies in the St. Louis region, where they learn about all the different types of careers that may be available within these companies, and they're able to talk to and engage with employees and leaders in these companies, and learn about their educational and their career pathways, how they got to where they are today. So that was very brief overview on Dream Big. I'll throw my email address in the chat if you have any other questions, want any more information. We are hosting, like I said, we are recruiting for the academic year career clubs. These are virtual events. They're completely free to the student. They would just need access to a laptop or a tablet and internet in order to participate. And our next one is going to be on November 3rd. We are focusing that one on entrepreneurship and small business. And then our one in December will be focused on the medical field. And then we have yet to decide our spring events, but we will let everybody know once we get those. Just really quick, I would be remiss if I wasn't able to talk about Access U. So Access U is our career development program for current college, trade, technical, any sort of post-secondary education students. Katie Fields runs that. We do one-on-one and group workshops with students, kind of all things career development, resume and cover letter writing, mock interviews, how to disclose your disability to an employer, how to talk to your employer about accommodations, things of that nature. So that program is for, like I said, current college, trade, and technical students, also completely free to participate in as long as the student is engaged and participating with the curriculum. All right, I think I'm done, Amy. Thank you so much.
And Blair, are those offered to anybody across the state?
Yes. So since our events, our Dream Big events, and even Access U, we're still 100% remote and virtual. Yes, those will be offered to anybody across the state. I anticipate this summer, even if we go back to an in-person format for Dream Big Summer Camp, we will still have some sort of hybrid programming where we're at least running one of our weeks virtual, so we can offer that to all Missouri residents.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Well, I know this one has been jam-packed, and we appreciate all of you for presenting and for hanging in there to join us to learn about these different programs. If you do have any questions or need to get a hold of any of the speakers, you can get a hold of me and I will direct you to them. We also hope you can join us next week. We have Legal Services of Eastern Missouri and DYS joining us, and they are going over so many topics: guardianship, Medicaid, food stamps, LGBTQ, name change, all sorts of things. So we hope you can join us, and we will send out the link again, and you can feel free to invite others to attend. Otherwise, thank you guys so much for attending. Have a great rest of your day.